Right here, boxing commentator Ted Cofie. Ted, George Kambosos-Jake, Wyllie. Didn't expect this fight, but what do you make of it now we've got this fight?
I think it's a great opportunity and good that the eyes are on Australia once again. You know, we had a massive show in January as part of Riyadh season, and now Riyadh season's done it again with George Kambosos and a plethora of great fights on the undercard. You know, I'm looking forward to Sky Nicholson and Tiara Brown, a lot of fire there, and hopefully it turns out to be a brilliant fight.
We saw a bit of back and forth up there today. You know, Jake had some comments. George pushed back, said, "You haven't been at the level that I've been at." Do you feel George maybe feels a little bit disrespected from Jake Wyllie?
Well, if you look at what George Kambosos has achieved, he deserves a second on the microphone. Let's put it that way. Do you know what I mean? And I think that whether or not he can do it in the ring remains to be seen. But he certainly told him, or took control of that conversation. And I think that's a good thing. He's like, don't interrupt me, I'm talking. You've been given an opportunity. You're a respectful guy, so stay in that respectful lane. And I think, you know, George just wanted to take a bit of dominance, and I think he did it well. I would have done the same in that position. It was good to see that, actually.
What do you make of George taking this fight on 4 days' notice? How does he sort of flip that switch and focus on Wyllie when he's been training for Jordan for these past few weeks?
Well, I think whether you love George Kambosos or whether you hate George Kambosos, no one can deny that, you know, the guy's a warrior man, or he's got a warrior mindset. You do not win a title from Teofimo Lopez and then fight Devin Haney twice. No one does that, especially when Devin Haney was considered the boogeyman and the next Mayweather of the boxing world. So I don't think he's going to have any problems with Jake Wyllie as far as his mentality is concerned. For the fact of fighting someone different, I don't think it would trouble him. I honestly think he's one of them guys that would fight, you know, anybody on short notice. So I think he's got to go out there and do his thing. Like he said, this isn't like boxing's like nothing else in the world. There are definitely levels to boxing, and yes, you might get someone that steps up and knocks somebody out with a lucky punch. But if you've been through the traps and you've been at the top of the echelon, then you know it's very hard to just jump levels and get up there. But it'll be an interesting fight because, you know, Wyllie's coming with a bit of fire. It's his jackpot, it's his lottery, and if he beats George, his life changes forever. So it makes for, you know, some good chemistry as far as the fight's concerned.
Now, last time we caught up was a great week on the Gold Coast back in January. Opetaia, where do you see him going next? Should you look at that unification fight, or what's next for Opetaia?
Yeah, I think there's been talk about Ramirez fighting somebody else, so the unification might be delayed. But I think the eyes of the water are on Opetaia. I think he's one of Turki Al-Sheikh's favourite fighters. I think he's a lot of people's favourite fighters. He's been linked with Alexander Usyk, and he's been linked with so many other top fighters. I think when Jai fights now, it's an event. It's not just a fight. You know, it demands that kind of global attention. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. But be it a unification or anything else, I think it's going to be really interesting for the sport of boxing.
Tszyu, he's scheduled to fight Joey Spencer next month in Newcastle. Thoughts on that fight?
Ooh, I think it's a good fight. You know, I mean, Tim certainly hasn't jumped down the ladder very far. I've seen Joey Spencer fight. He's determined. He's got the right mentality coming in, having seen what Tim went through before. I think Joey's going to get a hell of a lot of confidence from that. I think Tim has learned his lesson about overestimating himself against other people or underestimating other people. So I think it's going to be a good fight. I think at the end of the first round, you'll be able to tell the story about how that fight's going to go. Right now, it's kind of, everyone's just kind of, I think, sitting on tender hooks. And let's just see what happens from round one. But if Tim's got his mentality back and he can actually go back to being what he was previous to what happened with Mutazalev, I think that it will be a tough win but competitive fight.
I spoke to Eddie yesterday and he was saying that Tim should look at rematching Buckram. Comments on that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, you know, boxing's one of these games, you know, where you can be brilliant one day and down the next. You know, it's a matter of centimeters, days, inches, time. It's just got all these narratives involved, and you can look the best you've ever looked, and then you can get knocked out straight away. So I think that if he took Bikram seriously and he didn't take him as a guy, I'm just going to go and knock out in a round, and that's my belt, and it's all said and done, you know, I think he's got a very good chance against Bikram. I mean, they come from that same kind of Russian disciplinarian school. You know, Tim's a great boxer, man. He does the basics very, very well. So, you know, you can't sleep on Tim Tszyu. But I just think you just underestimated Bikram. So if he gets through Joey Spencer, I think that is definitely the fight for him to take. And I think he would do very, very well if he has his mentality right and if he trains correctly. There's no reason he can't do a job or be extremely competitive with Bikram.
Now, just final one, Liam Paro, he's made the decision to sign with no limit. What do you make of that choice, and what's the next sort of 12 months look like for Liam Paro?
I'm not really sure. I mean, No Limit are doing some good things. Obviously, DAZN, Eddie Hearn did some great things for him to get him the title. But coming off the loss, maybe it was just an offer that was just too good to reject. I think Liam's a good fighter. You know, he's been kind of the quiet horse in the background for quite a long time. He came out and made that stellar performance over in Puerto Rico. And I think that he's got big things ahead. I just think if he keeps his head down, his bum up, and he takes the right fights, there's no reason he can't come back to be a world champion again. But whatever he does, you know, I'm going to be looking closely because he's a good fighter.
Nice one. Thanks, Ted.
Yeah, thank you.